One of the things I wanted to do was show a realistic sense of the way work flows on a job where we're working out of the bucket, rigging everything down. And you'll see in this situation, I actually made a lot of small mistakes here, which I've showed on purpose. Wanted to show you, share those mistakes with you. Now, I don't like making mistakes, even small mistakes in this business, because small mistakes beget big mistakes, which can lead eventually to major injury or death. There's 2 points here. Number one, when you make a mistake, it's important to check yourself and really review, hey, what happened wrong here? How can we improve and make sure that doesn't happen in the future? Even small mistakes. And then the second thing is, how do you adapt? How do you fix things on the fly? Sometimes it works out and things go a little smoother and you can correct things, other times not. But definitely you'll see the mistakes I made. I'll point them out during the video and how I corrected them. So the first mistake I made here was dropping a small or maybe even a medium-sized limb right into the boom of the bucket truck, which is something I almost never do. And you'll see I had to adjust the rigging and cutting techniques I used in order to avoid doing that in the next 2 cuts. And that's a major theme of this video, is understanding the difference between cutting and rigging techniques when you're in the bucket versus when you're on rope and saddle. And it's a huge thing in the industry. I don't really hear a lot of people talking about it. So if you understand how the booms are made, you'll see that there was very little impact with here. It didn't shake the boom at all. It certainly was not something that did any type of damage or even potential damage to the boom, but it sure looks bad. So one of the cuts you'll see used quite a bit in this video is the rip cut. And the rip cut is strictly a top cut, no undercut, no notch, just a straight top cut, very close to the trunk, almost like a flush cut, right into the shoulder of the limb. And generally what will happen is that limb will the bark will rip and that will peel down in the trunk as the piece starts to move. And that can be very, very effective. Number one, it's quick, it's easy, but it's also safer in many ways, because the way the piece moves is going to be much slower. That peeling bark will restrict the movement of the piece and actually allow it to transfer the weight slowly and smoothly onto the rigging line. One advantage of the rip cut is you ensure that you don't leave a stub. So if you cut a branch 6 inches away from the trunk and then cut that stub off, you've made twice the work for yourself. You have to make 2 cuts instead of 1, and then there's 2 pieces to handle instead of 1. It doesn't lead to efficiency. It's a total waste of time. However, if you don't understand the dangers of a rip cut, it can kill you, which is no doubt why there's been a prohibition against the rip cut within the industry. And that prohibition comes from a time before the widespread use of bucket trucks. Think of it like this. If you're on rope and saddle and your lanyard is below a limb, the last thing you want is for that limb to peel down or rip down into your lanyard, suck you into the tree, because even a small limb or medium-sized limb with all that leveraged weight pulling you into the tree against your lanyard can be enough to crush you. That's known as the circle of death, and for good reason. Conversely, when you're in the bucket, you may find yourself in a position where there's no way to get out of the way of a limb that wants to swing down into the rigging. Now, if you were on rope and saddle, you could simply move yourself over to the other side of the limb, cut from that side, and watch that limb gracefully swing away from you. But in the bucket, sometimes you're just going to face a situation where there's no way to get out of the way of a limb as it wants to swing down into the lowering line. That's going to require a different set of techniques for cutting and rigging those kinds of limbs, some of which will be shown in this video. So one final note on rip cuts. They are not to be used on vertical or near vertical stems. A horizontal stem simply cannot barber chair and kill you. Anything that's straight or slightly leaning has the potential to kill you if it barber chairs. And the way to prevent a barber chair is just to make a proper notch or front cut and then back cut and reduce the risk of barber chair in that situation. So please, especially if you're learning anything that's vertical or near vertical, use your notch on. And that doesn't matter whether you're in the bucket or on rope and saddle. It's just not worth taking a risk. Take a few extra seconds, put that undercut in. All right, let's take a look at the video you'll see everything I said about making mistakes and how I corrected them. And hopefully you'll learn something here. You'll see the rip cuts I used and how they were pretty effective at slowing the pieces down, getting them to move a little more gently into the rigging.
So here's the situation. Got this cherry tree, and it's right over the garage down there. So we run the lower line up through the ring, up parallel with the stem of this lead here, to that little tiny branch right there. You can see how small that is. The 1/2-inch rope right there. And then we backed up the lead by putting that sling around there a few times, just a short piece of accessory line. And we're tying off branches and swinging them out, and then close enough to the edge of the roof that one of the guys can just grab it with the pole saw and pull it out of there. Old school, running bowling, guys. All right, take that up. One man, hold it. And just rip cut. Keep that off the boom. As it comes down the boom. Yeah, not the pretty. Hold that. Whoa. Hold that. This is the first one we got caught up on over here. Probably shouldn't have left the stub in the first place, but let's see what happens here. There it goes. Alright, we're going to tie these guys off right around the balance point somewhere. Close enough. Makes them a little easier to handle with the guys on the ground trying to sling them out over the roof. Little guy first. Alright, so that's on the boom. It didn't hit it that hard. Not the prettiest thing in the world. Maybe I should do some type of trigger cut, but let's see what happens. Just come down underneath and let it swing down over the top there. And there it goes. Alright, on this one, you may have to come underneath the boom there. I didn't like the way that last one hit the boom. Tell you what, why don't we just use an accessory line here? Those guys are messing around down there. That's not going anywhere. Yeah, not the prettiest thing I ever did in the world here. See what happens. Alright, this is something you're not going to see too often. It's a straight drop here. Alright, now I got the piece hanging so it's not going to swing into the bucket. Now I'll switch the other line on there. Alright guys, it's the first time I've ever actually done this, so don't expect it to go so smooth here. I bought this lowering device specifically for putting up in the tree. See what we can do with it today here, eh? A little, like a 4,000-pound strap or something. Let's see how it goes here. Something like that. That's pretty smooth, eh? Alright, running bowling, of course, when you don't know exactly which way the branch is weighted. Alright, take that up, please. tail out of the way. Just looks like pretty clear of the bucket now. Alright, those guys handle that side. I'll handle this side. Oh boy. Stand clear. All right, one more, just like that. This one will actually put a notch in to keep it off of me. I think it's going to go that way anyhow, but I might as well put a notch in it. Here. Let's do that. Getting all hockled up here. See what happens. All right, take that up, please. All right, hold it right there. Stand clear. Put some wood down here. All right, we'll try pushing it over the side here. All right, take that up. Take one. Now this one I'll probably cut it most of the way through and then get up and push it from a little higher. Sometimes that rope, if they got too much tension on it, will actually go.
The reason I said whoa on that last cut is because that rope swung kind of close to the bucket. So you're about to see me make a mental error. Knowing that happened on the last cut, I should have put the saw back away inside the bucket instead of hanging it on the outside of the bucket where it was vulnerable to get hit. Let's see what happens.
Ah! Just hit the saw. I'll keep the saw inside next time. Nasty. Alright, let's see how those do. Alright, nice. There's the machine truck tree wobbling up there. All right, take that up, please. Butt supposed to start to sit down. And then she starts to get nice and flat here. Score it on that side. This time I'm going to bring the saw inside the bucket. And I cut the piece so she'll swing out away from the bucket anyhow. See if it works. Yeah, that's the way we want it to go anyhow. Up, wrong side of the tree. My bad. Let's hope she swings around. Oh boy, that's close. Hold that! These are the things you gotta deal with. Thank God I'm not climbing, right? Okay, there it goes. Oh, oh, that don't matter a thing then. Look at this, she's all over there. Screwed that all up. Oh boy. Try something new here. This is not a running bowline, just a bowline. I'm going to put a loop in the rope. Let's get over here. This thing pull and free her up. I'm on that little nub up there. It's all you! Now we're going the other direction with it. This is the point you got to make your mind up. Am I going to take this in 2 or 3? Not that big a deal. All right, take it up. Take one. Hold that. Oh! I hear you. Drop the rope. I got it. Wraps off. Thank you. Hold that. Don't let it down. Hold that. All right.
Hold on there, dude. A little bit more.
Down. All right, we got this top here. We're just gonna blow the whole top right into the neighbor's yard. I'm gonna grind a couple stumps for them, no charge, they're happy. And making this cut, we're trying to get her to land flat. No guarantees though, but it's gonna be a fairly narrow humble. not the prettiest cut we ever made. Look at it hung up on the other side. See that? Look at that, guys. All right, there's a lesson to be learned. It did not release early, and why not? Because there was this knot on the other side, this dead branch. Can you see that? You guys see that? That thing, and it got all funny in there, not clean, no clean fibers for the hinge, so it got all twisted and hung up there, and that's what slowed it down. Kept it coming down tip first and short. I wanted to jump it a little bit more than that. Fortunately, it broke up when it hit, and there was no splash back into the shed. I didn't think we were going to have that much of a problem with it, but who knew? My boys are just pulling by hand, so it's not that big a deal. But I'm going to adjust the hinge on this one. A little more like it. So you can see on this one, center plunge, very narrow hinge with hardly anything holding there. So just two little posts, holding nothing to resist the movement, and enough width to the Humboldt to allow it to pick up a little speed before it breaks the hinge. That'll be the plan. All right, that one went well.
So if you're still watching some 35 minutes into this video, I really appreciate you hanging in there, and I guess you're into tree work as I am. I hope you learned something. I definitely learned something. And actually, of all the things that I reviewed in this video and looked at within the work that I did, the thing I really would like to correct the most is that piece that swung too close to the bucket and the rope brushed the saw on the way by. And I've actually figured out a way to remedy that, to make sure that doesn't happen in the future, directly as a result of watching this video and thinking about, hey, how can I prevent that from happening in the future? So I'm looking forward to showing that to you at some point in the not too distant future. And for this cut here, I made a plate cut which takes a couple extra seconds, but not much. Now I'm plunging or gutting the hinge before I do a plunge cut here to start the back cut, making sure the bar is perfectly level, coming in right there at or just slightly above the level of the apex of the face cut, and then we'll just come straight out the back side till she comes through. Obviously, it would be very difficult to get a saw started behind this tree with the garage right there, so the plunge cut was absolutely necessary on this cut, but I would probably still use it to follow this tree anyhow. This cut actually took 5 minutes, so that may seem like a lot for someone who's out there in the woods falling trees all day long, putting down 30, 40, 50 trees a day. If he spends an extra minute or two, that's just a half hour out of his day or an hour out of his day he just wasted. But for me, to spend 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes at the end of the day here is not a big deal. I'm happy to do it. It lets me be absolutely certain the tree's going to go my way. And you'll see in a minute here with the center plunge, there's just two side posts, and we have the skid loader pulling on this. This cut was 100%. So thanks for watching, and let me know what you think. I'd appreciate if you subscribe and like the video. Put some comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
Alright, there's the hinge. And there's the log. Let's take a look at that.